Hey guys, today we're going to be practicing painting in full color with acrylic paints. So you need to have your acrylic paints, the mini canvas, the image of a portion of the face, and a couple different brush sizes depending on what you think you're going to need, because you will want to change brush sizes as you get closer into details or are trying to cover more and more space. When you're painting in full color, you not only have to pay attention to the changing in values of colors, like from light to dark here, but also the matching of colors, because it's not always going to be just one perfect blend from light to dark. It's going to change it up with some different unexpected colors in different places. So make sure you're looking out for those things that the normal person wouldn't automatically notice. Maybe they're blues or purples or greens, something in those colors that your typical non-artist wouldn't pay attention to. So really study as you're trying to match the colors. But before we get to that point, we're going to be doing a sketch in paint. So sketching in paint almost creates a sort of underpainting. It's not exactly an underpainting. There's typically more details in a true underpainting, but because acrylic paints dry so fast, we're going to be just doing the sketch. So just like you would with a pencil, you're going to sketch it out. Don't worry about mistakes. Go over, just fix the mistakes by drawing a new line if you do make them, because paint is very, very forgiving. It's one of the things I love most about paint, is if you mess up, it's so easy to fix it because you can just paint over your mess up. So that's what we're going to do now. Go ahead and sketch out the image. One other thing to note is that your image is not going to be proportionally correct to the size of the canvas. So you just kind of want to fit it in as best as you can, and if there needs to be blank space, that's perfectly fine, because we're going to just use this as a practice for learning to work with acrylic paints and matching colors to a photo. Once you have your sketch completed, you want to go ahead and start thinking about what are the base colors for each of these areas. So there are going to be places where it gets lighter or darker, like on some of these edges that are in shadow based on where the light's coming from. But what is that overall color that you see pretty much everywhere? And that's what we're going to start with for creating our base. I recommend mixing plenty of your color. This is acrylic, so you don't want to pour too much because it's wasteful and it's pretty expensive paint. Not quite as expensive as oil paint, but still up there, and we want to be mindful of the supplies that we have. So pour enough to where you can continue mixing and have enough to work while the paint is wet. What I highly recommend, because acrylics dry so fast, is working really fast. So that means you have to be a little bit fearless, and like I said, mistakes are so easy to fix. It's really not something you should worry too much about. If something goes wrong, you can just go over it. But working fast will allow you to mix the colors on the canvas while they're still wet, and you'll get a really nice smooth blend. One other thing that I personally like to do is use a lot of water in my paints. Not everyone does this, but I like it because it makes the paint a little bit loose so that I can get a really nice crisp edge. I also use a flat brush to help get a nice crisp edge, so like for the edge of the face and bottom of the nose, top of the lips, things where I want those lines to show and not be blended out or have a bunch of kind of stray bristles spreading color where I don't want it. I'll use that flat brush. And then that, in addition with the water, kind of just a little bit of water so that the pigment is easily spreadable, makes it go a little bit further. I can get nice clean edges to my paint. Again, because acrylic paint dries so fast, I recommend working in small sections so that you can do your blending straight on the canvas. So I'm going to start blending in my lights and my darks. Rather than using black or white straight away, you typically want to use colors that are similar. So like for the highlights, I might add in some yellow, And especially with black, you try to avoid as much as possible because black can make things so dark and muddied. And then when you do use it, just use it very sparingly. So I'm adding my darks in with a darker brown right now. Having the colors you plan to use ready to go and out on your palette is really going to help with the speed that you're able to paint. Because if you have to stop and unscrew a paint or look for the right color and then get it on your palette, you risk the chance of everything you've just painted going dry and now you can't blend it on your canvas. So you can see I'm adding in some reds and some different colors. As I go, I'm going to continue doing this until I get it where I want it. So I'm paying attention to the values, the darks and the lights. So imagine you're seeing your photo in black and white. Where would it be darker? Where would it be lighter? And I'm also paying attention to what colors are in those specific sections. So if I need to add a new color at any point in time. Now I have the rest of my video on a sped up version or time lapse of the painting. So no, I'm not painting quite that fast, although you should work quickly with acrylics. But let's go over the tips before you get started on yours. First, sketch your image in paint. Secondly, have all of your matching colors ready. 3, paint fast and in small sections so you can, number 4, blend your values on the canvas. 5, change the brush if you need a different brush size. 6, you can use water to thin the paint. 7, use a flat brush for sharp edges. And number 8, I'm adding in one thing we haven't talked about here, and that is I want you guys to take a step back from your painting every so often. A few feet, about 5 feet works great to compare your image to your painting. Having those different perspectives can help with sizing and proportions and even colors.